Okay, good morning, everyone. We're back to our book, Garden of Peace, by Shalom Arush. Yesterday, we sort of did like a little sikum, a summary of the entire book, correct? So we continue. It says, wronging one's wife. The Torah says, you shall not wrong another. Yeah, we're on page 286. Chapter 12, page 286. Wrongings one's wife. It says in Parashah Vayikra, it says, you shall not wrong one another. The Torah delineates two types of wronging. We have monetary, meaning somebody who's cheating you in money, right? Or we have verbal, where one upsets and hurts someone else with one's words. Financial wrongings are relatively easy to rectify. Why? You apologize, you give back the money that you stole from him. Verbal wrongs are sometimes impossible to rectify. The words said can never be taken back or erased from the other person's memory. Even if they grant forgiveness, the pain in their heart and soul may never heal. He says many times that women don't forget anything. They'll remember 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago what you told them. Yeah? Many times, all the time. So he says, if I, say something nasty to you, me as a man, I can say, listen, forgive me, I was a little bit whatever. You tell me, okay, don't worry, I got you, don't worry. However, with the lady, it's a little bit different. If you tell her something verbally not nice, she will remember that. Even though you say, please forgive me, I really didn't mean it, so on and so forth, she'll say, I forgive you. But this thing is in her mind, and it's engraved in her heart, and it stays for years and years. And the minute there's a small breakdown, this whole thing comes out as if you just said it to her again, and again, right now. You hear? Women by nature are sensitive and emotional, and therefore readily vulnerable to verbal abuse. The Talmud says, a man must be careful not to wrong his wife, for her tears readily flow, meaning she's very easy to cry. Her emotional sensitivity makes her feel the sting of any comments and criticisms. Here, Jewish law specifically dictates that one must be extra careful with a wife's feelings. Imagine, if we wrong a man with words, okay, we're not so sensitive. Although I do see a lot of men that are extremely sensitive, worse than women, and they take things very, very hard, very to heart, and it's very hard to appease them. Mama's just like a woman, you hear? Which we have to work on ourselves and not to take things personally, because at the end of the day, people say things they don't mean. We know that. We also say things we don't mean. However, a woman, she doesn't understand that. She doesn't have that concept. And she's very sensitive. And therefore, the slightest thing that you might say to her that's a little bit degrading, right? She gets hurt and she even starts to cry. And they're going to give us a little, let's say. The Talmud tells us of a story of Rabbi Rachumi, who was extremely righteous. Yeah? Rav Rachumi. With his wife's agreement, he would return home from the Talmud Academy only once a year. He made a deal with his wife. She said, okay, no problem. Once a year you come. On the eve of Yom Kippur, once on this day, he became so absorbed in his studies that he failed to return home. His wife was eagerly awaiting his arrival, but when he failed to come, she shed a tear out of her sadness and disappointment. What happened was he was on his way to home, but he got so deep into thought of the Talmudic tractate that he was learning. He sat down for a second and he started, how was it? This, that, and time got carried away. And she sees he's not home. She started crying. At that very moment, the gallery on which Rav Rachumi was learning collapsed. He fell and he died. In this extraordinary tale, the Talmud doesn't say that his wife suffered greatly or for an extended period of time. No, she shed one tear. This was enough to bring the decree of immediate death on her husband, who, by the way, was a tzaddik. Yeah? Although he had no evil intentions of hurting her whatsoever. A tzaddik who's learning, no intentions of hurting her. She was not suffering. She just, she's like, just one tear. What happened to my husband? What happened? Dead. Rav Chaim Shmulevitz of Blessed Mary asks, how did this punishment help his wife? At the end of the day, he died. Right. Well, how does it help her? Surely his death caused her only more pain and suffering, since she would now be a widow. He explains that our sages wanted to teach us the severity of upsetting others. Even in such circumstances, the punishment is severe and swift in coming. He would often say, upsetting a fellow human human being is a burning fire. The Talmud states that all punishments are delivered via a messenger, apart from the punishment of upsetting others, which Hashem himself delivers the punishment. He says when a person does somebody wrong, he steals money, this, that, the other thing, Hashem sends a messenger, angel of whatever, and he takes care of it. He says, however, when you hurt another being, Hashem himself comes and he takes care of you, chas v'shalom. The Sefer HaYesharim writes, just as one can upset people with words, one can upset people with a sour facial expression. Meaning, it's not so simple to have a face like this all the time. You know, it's not so simple. Husbands often come home after a hard day with a bitter expression on their faces. This is problematic, for a wife sees this as a message that her husband is displeased with her. When he comes in with a frown or with a heavy heart, she's thinking, oh my God, he's probably upset at me. She doesn't think of attributing his frown to the 10 people who aggravated him at work earlier, or to the rush hour traffic jam. Sometimes you're sitting 1 hour on traffic, you get very, very, distorted. Even though it's sometimes difficult to avoid upsetting his wife, a husband must leave his aggravation outside of the house and walk in with a smile. You hear? A breach of promise is another form of wrongdoing. When a husband says that he'll come home at a certain time, he must keep this word. If he doesn't, his wife will be insulted because she takes it as a sign that she isn't important enough to him. Even for a mitzvah, it is forbidden to be late. If he sees that he's going to be delayed due to unforeseen circumstances, then he should phone her well ahead of the expected arrival time and tell her, through no fault of his own, that he won't be home on time. He should apologize in a pleasant tone and make it clear that he's truly sorry that he won't be home on time, as he said. Here, very important. I got myself into trouble also. It wasn't even, I said as a figure of speech. I said, I'm probably going to be there an hour and I'll come back. So she took that hour literally. I came back in 3 hours. As an expression of figure of speech, we say, I'll be there for a little while. What's a little while?
The problem was you said the time.
I know, but I said about. I said I'll probably be there about an hour because I didn't know where I was going. Meaning, I didn't know whether I was going to be there to such a long time but it happened to be that there was.
Did you call her back?
I didn't. But it was 7-8 o'clock p.m. Usually, a person comes 9, 10, 11 o'clock. It's no big deal.
You know why she was upset about you?
Yeah.
Because you didn't call her back.
Absolutely.
And then she was worried what happened to you.
Absolutely. No, she knew where I was.
No, she don't know.
She knew where I was. But what he's saying is, you're right. What he's saying is a woman in these cases is very sensitive. By us, okay, she comes in an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, like, okay, whatever. She must be fine. Everything is fine. Because we know where she is, basically. But with a woman, it's a little bit different. She's very, very sensitive. And it's important that she knows where we are. So a good thing is to text, hey sweetie, I'm half an hour late, running a little bit late, we'll see you soon. He said the road to peace in a home is paved with tests, with obstacles, and with difficulties. A man shouldn't fool himself that he'll find a wife who matches him so perfectly that they will always live together in harmony and bliss. A tremendous mistake for everybody. Do not think you're going to get married to somebody you're going to have, life in heaven. No such thing.
There are a lot of people looking for such a life.
All couples disagree with one another from time to time, and about a number of things. Disagreements are inevitable, meaning you'll have them. To prevent disagreements from turning into arguments, a husband needs to familiarize himself with the areas where his wife feels differently than he does, and with the situations and topics that are particularly sensitive for all women. He can then tread carefully whenever these cases surfaces. Which means what? He says all women have an issue in certain topics. which we've discussed.
Smartest one.
Which we
He was
no
the
no.
smartest one.
He's saying we cannot comment to a woman, cannot not make her number one. Says this you know for sure. Second thing is, he says there are sometimes that your particular wife has an issue with, let's say, jealousy. His particular wife has an issue with money. His particular wife has an issue with her in-laws. So he says you have to know that she has this issue and be very careful around this topic. Meaning don't start getting into discussions and what have yous and whatever. Yeah?
Not to upset.
Whatever issue today you said,
Huh?
whatever you said, this one has this one,
Yeah,
this one,
yeah.
all of them have the same problem.
Absolutely.
All-
You're right.
They have all of it.
You're right.
Most
But
of
for
them.
instance,
Most of them.
I was on vacation recently, yeah? So what happened? Some lady said, can you take a picture of me in front of this sign? So I said, okay. So I took to her camera, right? And I took a couple of pictures, chirik, knowing that I'm gonna also take a picture now with my wife and have her take me. So I took some 4 or 5 different pictures, different poses, yeah? Not poses, different locations, so that she can do the same thing for a week already passed, and yesterday I got it in my head. What kind of person are you? She said, what kind of rabbi are you that you're taking a picture of a woman? I said, first of all, I'm not a rabbi. Yeah? And second of all, I said, she was all tzniut. Everything was kosher. I said, I don't know. She just said, can you take a picture? I took a picture. I said, if you mind, yeah, that I did that, why didn't you take the camera for me? Yeah, you should have said, oh, I'll take it. I'll be okay, great. At the moment, we don't think about this. What's my wife gonna think? This, that. You know, I did what I thought was a power of action, and what happened? She's upset about it.
Abraham,
Huh?
I think that this, we should set it inside ahead of time.
Yeah.
That if the situation like this arises,
Yeah.
a woman should take pictures of a woman.
You're
Yeah.
right, but you
If
see,
we have it
look,
inside,
yeah,
it will surface.
100%. But we cannot know. You're right, 100%. But imagine to every single moment of your life to be able to, oh, I know that she doesn't like the crumb here. We have to do. It's a little bit difficult. We have to get to that. But at the end of the day, the problem happened, right? The disagreement ensued.
Yes.
It says try not to make it into an argument. So now I know that if I start explaining myself, 100% argument.
You lost it.
100% argument. So I should have said, oh, you're right. What? How could I have even done that?
Thank you so much.
You know what? Next time, make sure I will not get upset. Make sure you tell me that. But I didn't say that. I tried to explain myself, and I almost got into an argument. You understand? Just being honest, yeah, with our viewers, so that we have to know what's the sensitive points of our wives. Many times, they will be extra sensitive on certain characteristic traits, certain things that bother them very well. Other times they think of things that doesn't bother them. Why? It's not in their. While for another woman, it will be extremely, extremely damaging. That, and this wouldn't. So he says, know your woman, know what ticks her off, and try to be very, very careful in those areas.
It's a good sign.
Yeah.
It's a good sign that she reacted.
Yeah. He says the Satan dances whenever there is strife. Whenever there's arguments, he dances. So one must avoid arguments at all costs. If an argument has already been sparked, the husband should be quick to extinguish it. The husband should be quick to extinguish it. Imagine there's a fire in your house. You're gonna wait until your wife goes and gets the water and check. Imagine that. So again, back to the fact that it's a man's job to try to extinguish this thing. They're not able to. Yeah, peacefully. He says if he doesn't, further arguments are likely to ensue. The nature of argument is that one leads to another. The Shla Hakadosh writes at the beginning. It says, and there was an argument between the shepherds of Abraham's flocks and the shepherds of the herds of Lot. Remember, they had an argument with the whole day. He says, but when Abraham spoke to Lot and said, "Let there not be strife between me and you," he said the word strife in the feminine word. He says, why is this? Why did he use the word strife in the feminine? He doesn't give us the Hebrew version, and I'm not so professional in Hebrew. Meriva. It's feminine. Yeah. He says, why did he use the feminine? You could use the masculine word, merif, I guess, right? What's the merif? The masculine. So he says, Abraham was saying to Lot, The argument that began between the shepherds, let it stay as one argument, and not give birth, quote unquote, to further ones, like a woman who gives birth. That's why he used the feminine. He says, let's not have meriva, meaning let's not this argument turn into an argument with many, many arguments that are going to follow it. You hear? When a husband becomes entrenched in argument and refuses to concede his position, he transgresses what it says in the Torah. It says, do not be like Korach and his congregation. You hear? Sometimes we want to be right. I don't care. I want to be right. It says, why you want to do that for? Why you want to do that for? You know? Korach also wanted to be right. Meaning he also wanted to be holy. He also wanted to do service of Hashem. It wasn't that he wanted to steal money or anything like that. No. He said, I want to be the rabbi. And so it's not like he wanted to be a crook. You hear? He says, don't be right. Don't be.
This should be much more important.
It's better to be peaceful than to be right. He says, the book of Proverbs says, all the ways of man are pure in his own eyes. A person thinks that what he does and thinks is correct. This is natural. In every difference of opinion, if one side feels that he's right and the other side is wrong, he'll stubbornly argue this point. It says people have a very strong desire to defeat others. And most of our arguments are because of what? I want to put him down. I want to put her down. I want to show him. I want to show her. Yeah. But apart from where the topic is very serious, winning an argument is usually not worthwhile. Conceding a point preserves one's strength and peace. It says peace with others is the true victory.
Preserves one's strength.
Yeah, of course.
Because we're losing strength.
Of course, absolutely. Especially with one wife's. Bowing to her wishes and placing her in first priority are the greatest show of strength and the greatest victory. You hear? For instance, you give you an example, right? Lavdil, it's not a good example, but look at the fighting that's going on. Russia, Ukraine. Thousands of people are dying. You know, he doesn't want to lose soldiers. But what are they doing? I want to prove that I'm right. And this wants to prove that I'm right. Are you crazy? What are you doing? You hear? You got into it, right? He got into it 3 years ago. Sit down, realize that you make a mistake, try to make some kind of a deal. You see, it's a dead end. The whole world against you. You hear what I'm saying?
Who is against you?
Whatever.
Both of them against you.
Yeah. Says Rabbi Natan of Breslov of blessed memory writes that argumentativeness is the worst of all the bad traits. All other negative traits and desires can serve some positive purpose if they are harnessed and used in accordance with Hashem's will. But being argumentative serves no purpose at all and can uproot a man from this world and the next world. He says, why are you arguing? Yeah. Sometimes the characteristic traits that we have, jealousy, I'll be jealous of learning more Torah and being a good person, whatever, of that person. Or a lot of the traits that are no good, he says you could gear it towards a good thing. Yeah. He says being argumentative it's a dead business.
But yet learning Torah is all about back and forth.
Again, but the arguments over there is not, I'm not arguing with you about the point you want to make. I'm arguing maybe about the certain angles of seeing this way. So, but he's talking about things that are just mamish. Yeah, it's there is no right or wrong there. You hear? There is no logical way of let's say with this picture thing. Yeah. If I'm gonna start proving my point, no, but she was dressed and this and that. It's an argumentative. Where are you going with that? There's no right or wrong over there. You understand? It's a matter of opinion, or and it's just gonna escalate to a deeper and deeper argument, and it's gonna now involve the whole 30 years of marriage. You understand what I'm saying? Not worth it. It says Rab Chaim Palaji of blessed memory testified that he had seen with his own eyes that every argumentative family never escaped without some damage in their health, wealth, or both. Why? Because the vessel for blessing is peace. As we say in the Birkat Kohanim, the last word, shalom. He says we need peace in order to get all the blessings that we're going to get from Hashem, because that's the vessel, it's peace. If there's no peace, we're unable to get these blessings. We're unable to capture these blessings. He says, where there are arguments, there are no blessings. In the story of Korach and his followers, argument with Moshe, we see that the earth swallowed them alive with all their wealth. Arguments bring a person to anger, to stress, depression, high blood pressure, heartache. Nothing else does so much damage to a person's physical and emotional health. As we know, if we ever had an argument with our wives that lasted for months, it's the worst thing in the world. You can't work normally, you can't think normally, you can't even sit normally. Why? Because this thing, it just churns you up, and you don't know what to do. You understand? He goes, why would you want that? Why would you want that to yourself?
I just want to add that a lot of people come with broken teeth.
Yeah?
They are under stress like this.
Wow.
Broken teeth, a lot. Nowadays, a lot.
Wow.
Sometimes,
Because of that.
Yeah,
because of the
it happens
grinding.
at night.
Wow.
Sleeping, you don't even know.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you repeat that? Can you
Yeah.
repeat?
No, he says a lot of people come, he's a dentist. A lot of people come with broken teeth, like cracked
yes,
teeth. Yeah. Why? Because at night they're so stressed that they're clenching their teeth very hard and they're grinding actually that they break their teeth.
Yes.
He says parents' quarrels sorely damages children's physical and spiritual well-being. Strife in the home destroys their capability to concentrate and to learn, damages their souls, and can negatively affect them for the rest of their lives. A wife may make many mistakes in child rearing, but her husband's quarreling with her about it will do more damage than any of her mistakes. He says, you see a woman, your wife, right? She's arguing with the child. She hits him, she does that, whatever. She doesn't speak to him nicely. We said, what do we do in that case? Stay away, stay away. Let him do it. Why? He says, if you're going to come right now and argue with her, what you doing? What's wrong with you? What kind of mother you are? Da, 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 da. Now you're going to have an argument with her. Now this child is going to suffer tremendously. Much more. He says, if a wife is too stern, too strong with her children, and her husband steps in to protect them, the damage to the child from the ensuing tension will be far greater than the damage from her stringencies. You hear? In the case of strife between a mother and one or more of the children, a husband must first give her unconditional backing. I'm behind you. Even though inside you're like, oh my God, what are you doing? Yeah? The Ben Ish Chai writes that when one walks into a volatile situation, he should realize that the Satan is at work in attempting to stir up arguments and discord.
What is that?
What?
What is that?
What do you mean, what is that?
Explain.
The Ben Ish Chai says when you are in an argument with somebody, the Satan is waiting. He wants to make everything even worse, 10 times worse. In many cases, couples argue about matters of almost no consequence. The evil inclination incites the husband to be stubbornly insistent about something, and to fight, and a fight follows. For example, the wife asks the husband to clean something or organize something for her that should take no more than half an hour, but he's resentful of her desire to take up his time, so he doesn't do it. The resulting argument may then last into wee hours of the night, when the whole episode could have been easily avoided. She wants him to do something. It'll take 20 minutes, half an hour. I don't have time for this. What happens? They start arguing. So sometimes it says takes you 2, 3, 4, 5 hours of argument. Sometimes days, because you argue about a stupid thing. Where you could have what? Half an hour, 20 minutes, did whatever she needed. Yalla. So,
You are the winner.
yeah. He says he granted her a mere half an hour of his time. He would have spared her untold anguish and spared himself both migraines and wasted hours. You wasted your time for no reason. Yeah? He says often a wife needs her husband for a short moment to show or ask him something. The husband might be busy and fail to respond. Maybe she just calls out. Maybe he just calls out. What? She says, Moteg. You're like, yeah? He says, and he continues with what he's doing. When she vays again for his attention, he replies more impatiently with, what? What do you need? Yeah? This lack of regard for his wife leads to strife. She's thinking, you don't care about me. See, by then, so let's finish that. She may have only wanted his attention for half a minute. Now he'll need hours on end to placate her. Unfortunately, we're looking at a very beautiful woman, 120, 150, 180 pounds, yeah? Nice, with a brain, yeah? She looks intelligent. She might be a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever she is, yeah? And we're looking at a mamish like a normal, reasonable, thinking human being, correct? But what he's saying is, with all of her emotional programming, good word, I like that. She's not like that. She could be worse than a child. You understand? Not that she's a child, but emotionally, yes, and when she asks you, I need you for a minute. Yes, my love. What do you need? Why? With this, not only do you show her you're number one, but you got rid of her in 2-3 minutes. Here, you're thinking, no, I'm busy with this thing. She could wait. Now it's going to turn into a whole argument. Now she's going to start pushing you stupidities from, and making you, because you know what it is? They don't even know why they're doing it. It's one of these things. They themselves don't even know why they're doing it.
That's the way they are.
Yeah. So therefore, he says the Talmud teaches that it's difficult to appease a woman. When husband sees this, but don't understand why, they feel that their wives are either spoiled or vindictive. You see, he's even saying himself. He says, I don't understand. How do I appease this woman? I don't get it. So now he thinks she's doing it on purpose. And that's one of the fallacies of a husband, that he thinks that everything she's doing is calculated purposely. Just to get into his... She's not knowing what she's doing a lot of times. She's seeking attention. Unfortunately, when children lack attention, they start doing crazy things. Yes. They start misbehaving in school. They start, makeup in a weird way. Start coloring black and this, that. This is a big sign saying, yo, I need help. I need your help. And how are we reading this? We're reading, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Why are you acting up in school? This type of person needs love. This type of person needs emotional charge. Same thing with the wife. When she starts doing all these stupidities, yeah, she's doing it only, so you say, oh, if you need it, come to me nicely. Tell me, my love, I need a little bit of your attention. She cannot do that. She doesn't know how to do that.
Like babies.
You understand? She doesn't know how to do that.
It's also beneath her. It's like a little bit,
I got you, but which effect will be better? When she says, my love, I miss you so much. I need a little bit of more of your attention. Meanwhile, what she does? She does things that we don't like.
It pushes us away.
Exactly, which actually pushes us away. Counterproductive. But he's saying, be smarter than that. Understand that these are the actions that a young child does when he needs attention. You hear? And unfortunately, we're messing up with the children because we don't give them that attention. You hear? We're thinking of, this one is the black sheep of the family. You understand? And we sort of outcast them, but in a roundabout way, where we should be showing the most love to this individual, to this child, because not for nothing, but certain kids are built differently. Hashem brings them into this world with certain strengths and weaknesses. When you see a child that needs help, you gotta go all in to try to help the child. However it is. If you don't know, ask, read. So same thing he says with this wife. Some wives, people are like, my wife? I don't even know what this book doesn't even pertain to my situation. Okay, Baruch Hashem, you're a winner. I don't know what's the behind the scenes there. I don't know how good you are with Hashem or how not good you are with Hashem. But at the end of the day, it's not like that. So when these actions are seen, oh, my wife took me to Beit Din. My wife said I stole something. My wife this, my wife that. These are all things that she's just doing to jar himself, or to jar him to say, oh, I need your help.
I need you.
I need you to be a man, to be a husband to me. You understand? We think a husband is a night guy. Comes at night, satisfies himself, by the way, which many marriages are complaining about that. They're saying, my husband has not made me feel good in years. He comes, does his thing, turns around, goes to sleep, and that's it. So they feel very, very bad. You should know. Extremely bad. Very low. You hear? So he says, Talmud teaches correct. He says they don't want to play this repeated game of humbling themselves before their wives while trying to appease them. So they decide to So they decide to not try anymore. I'm sorry, let's go back. The Talmud teaches that it's difficult to appease a woman. When the husband sees this, but doesn't understand why, they feel that their wives are either very spoiled or they're vindictive. So what happens? They don't want to play this game. So they don't want to humble themselves before their wives while trying to appease them. So they decide not to try anymore.
Withdraw.
Yeah. They think that their wives are acting maliciously, so they apply a strong hand with no warmth or affection. In reality, their wives are longing for their reconciliation and to be close with them again. They just don't know how to stop this vicious cycle of hostilities. That's the worst thing in a marriage that is a problem. This is exactly, he put this in a nutshell that he says, with this in mind, a husband is careful to be loving and patient no matter what. His calm will neutralize any strife in his home. Here, this cycle is the worst cycle. Yeah. Why? Because he's thinking, yo, she's evil. What is she doing to me? So now he's withdrawing, like you said. He doesn't want to appease her. He said, what? You know what? I'm tired already. Let her suffer. And this, suffer, appease, this, suffer, this, that. So there's no way they can mend things. You understand? No way. So one of these people, one of this couple, has to be a man. And say, yo, I'm not going to play this game. You hear? Sometimes, believe it or not, it's the woman. But unfortunately, she cannot solve this. Why? She could try to make amends by saying okay once, okay twice, okay 3 times. But when she does that, you know what he's thinking? That's how I have to rule.
Now I'm gonna show her.
It's no. You see, I don't talk to her, she comes to me. I don't this, she this. I don't that. So now he's thinking that's the way to deal with her. No. Meanwhile, she's being the smart one and she's quelling her, her gava. Where in reality it has to be his gava that has to be quelled, because the whole point is he has to work on his gava. So, and he's thinking, oh no, this gava is actually working, and it's not. So it becomes worse and worse as it goes. The problem is that this circle becomes a humongous circle to where what? They're spending weeks and months not talking to each other. Then somebody has to crack. You understand? Somebody has to crack.
Before we had the title, 2 women in the house.
Yeah.
But this title, they switched the roles.
Oh, so you want to say, no, he will never say 2 men. I'll tell you why.
No, not 2 men.
No.
Don't switch. The man became the woman, became the man.
No. That's what I was saying.
did.
No. She can never become a man.
She cannot.
Yeah.
But she tries to be.
Yeah.
And he,
She tries to be manly, but he cannot. She cannot. And therefore, her emotional status doesn't allow her. If she could, she would.
But she can.
But she cannot, because she's not built like that. Yeah. He
He's built like that.
He is built as a man, but he could fall to be a very feminine individual.
Well, that's how we say it. There should be a Ben Zachar.
Oh, very good. That's a very good one. I like that. You notice we don't say anything about the girls, that she become a girl. But the Ben Zachar, we say he should be a manly man. What is this manly man? That he should not seek this emotional, I want to be emotionally satisfied. If a man says that, it's a little bit of a problem. Unfortunately, it's has to do a lot with the way we grew up, because we're shown too much love, and our mothers take care of us a little bit too much. You hear?
Like a girl.
Like a girl a little bit, yeah. He says, so therefore, this cycle has to be stopped. And the only individual in the couple who could stop the cycle is if a man stands up and says, okay, I'm gonna be a man, I'm gonna quell my gava, my how do you say gava again in English? My ego. I'm gonna let my ego down. I'm gonna let my ego is a fortress in front of a man. Ego is a strong, solid door in front of a man. Ego is not supposed to be a fortress in front of the actions that you're supposed to do. We unfortunately we're unable to be versatile in our actions if our ego is in front of us. Here, we need an ego in order to survive. Everybody has a certain ego because we need an ego to survive. But we cannot let the ego control us. We have to control our ego. And at times we have to take the ego by its throat put him in the back seat and say, you chill out. When I'm gonna need you, I'm gonna take you. Right now, I need to do something that's very important. You understand? And that's the only way. That's when we will be able to solve our Shalom Bayit problems. He says, tyrant in the house. Sefer HaBrit says, there are people who are careful not to harm anyone and love and honor others, yet they hate their wives and insult them. We know a lot of people like that. Yeah? Outside they're, ooh, tzaddik yishod olam. When it comes to the house, nasty as it could be. And people don't see that. That's why it says when you go up 120 years, you go upstairs, yeah? They don't bring your rabbi, they don't bring your chabura, who you're teaching in the morning, no. They don't bring your business partners, no, not your customers who give you the money, and you're like, oh yeah, come again, yes, no problem, yeah? Inside you're saying you wasted 3 of my hours, you made the price low 55 times, but it's okay. At least you gave me the money. And even when you didn't make the sale, it's okay. Maybe they're going to come tomorrow to buy. But when you come home, we take out this Mr. Nice Guy jacket and we become an evil person. That's why they said, oh, very good. Oh, look who we got today. Okay, come after 120. It's okay. Bring his wife, please. Bring his wife and kids, please. Let's see. So, how is your husband? Ushol. Yeah? He says, they say that there is no sin in this, in disrespecting the wife, in treating the wife bad. They don't understand that their sin is even greater than if they would do this to a stranger. For one's wife is in essence of one's own flesh. Furthermore, why should wives not be included in the commandment, do not hate your brother in your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself? He says, where is this? She's supposed to be before anybody else on these 2 psukim, on these 2 sayings, Torah sayings. An ancient Jewish adage says, just as their faces are not alike, so too are their opinions are different. Husband and wives always have different preferences and goals to one another. But this need not stop them from building a happy and successful life together. They know when they get married that there will be differences of opinion between them. And their intentions is that when they arise, they will respect each other and each other's wishes and arrive at a mutual satisfying compromise. They will work well together. He says, a husband that feels that being a man of the house grants him the last word and power of veto over his wife's wishes is called a tyrant. Yes. And the Torah says, be careful, don't be a tyrant. This was the attitude of the wicked Haman. All the wives will give honor to their husbands, said Haman.
That's yours.
Yeah?
That's yours.
So that each man will be a ruler in his home. That's exactly what you said. He wanted his wife and the children to bow down to him, serve him like slaves, and accept whatever he said. Such a person feels that he has the right to insult his wife and children and make them fear him. Unfortunately, many of our ethnic, people that we come from, we unfortunately have this attitude.
Not all of them.
The town, I didn't say all of them, I said
because we are the learn right.
Yeah.
Right? It's absolutely good.
yes.
But the people they learn Torah is down low.
Correct.
Like
But a lot of ours who came from Uzbekistan, they unfortunately, treat the family like this. The Talmud says that whoever places too much fear in his home will end up to come to transgress 3 major sins: forbidden sexual relations, bloodshed, and breaking the Shabbat. And here's how: forbidden sexual relations. If the night of his wife's ritual immersion, the mikveh night comes, and she forgets to go and dip, and she's late and the mikveh is closed. Why? Because she was busy doing many other things. All of a sudden, she's afraid of her husband. And if she comes back and says, I couldn't dip, he's gonna be very nasty to her, maybe even, be abusive. What is she gonna do? She's gonna say, I dipped. And she's gonna sleep with him. And therefore this is called sexual forbidden relations. What about bloodshed? She may run away out of fear of him, and due to her emotional duress, she may end up to chas v'shalom in a fatal situation. Yeah? Yeah, again, she's scared of him. And what about Shabbat? If the wife forgets to kindle Shabbat hot plate or forget to put on the gas, right? And all of a sudden Shabbat came in, she's gonna be afraid. What am I gonna serve him? How am I gonna serve him hot food? So she's gonna say, okay, I'm gonna have to do it because he's gonna get upset. He's gonna start screaming, and she's gonna put the fire on and transgress Shabbat. Whenever one of the children has misbehaved, a terrorized wife will be afraid to tell her husband. For tyrannical husbands are usually tyrannical fathers, and the punishment to the children is cruel. So he says, since she doesn't want to tell him because he's going to hit the child, what's going to happen? The child grows up to be a very bad child. Because now, on the one hand, she's afraid to tell her husband because he's going to hit him. On the other hand, he's not behaving. So what do I do? The child in turn becomes progressively undisciplined and more difficult to handle. Were it not for his reign as a tyrant, right? She can come to him and speak to him. Honey, our child needs like this, child needs like that, yeah? Finally, it says over here, in a household with fear, everyone will lie in order to escape the wrath of the despotic, which means a tyrant father and husband. A man must never insult his wife or strike her, God forbid. The Jewish code of law states, a man who hits his wife has committed the transgression, and the power is given to the Beit Din, to the court, to beat him and excommunicate him, because this is not the way to be with a woman.
This is all Torah.
Absolutely.
Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing
By the way,
Breslev.
yeah.
All Torah.
I was thinking the same thing. Going back to the actual transgression of Shabbat.
Yeah.
I've witnessed that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%.
I've seen it.
100%.
The lady was fighting, doing Esh La'esh for Chag.
Yeah,
And then when she ignited it, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
So both went out.
yeah,
Freaked out, took a matchbox, struck it, and lit it again.
yeah.
Ooh,
Because she was afraid of the husband.
freaked out.
Definitely, yeah. So we have to be careful. We're not tyrants. Our wife is not a slave. You are a husband and wife. Yeah. You're one. You're friends. You're flesh of another flesh, and therefore you should try to work as much as you can to learn to be together, Be'ezat Hashem, and fix all the problems. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen. Amen.